Hi, I'm Toni Williams, and this is Brooklyn Savvy.
Hi, I'm Toni Williams, and welcome to Brooklyn Savvy. I am delighted to bring who I think is a really phenomenal woman with a very phenomenal message. And it's called Sis, You're Worth It. And her name is Michelle Hollinger. And it's a book, Sis, You're Worth It, the 7 Ideas of Manifesting Your Best Life. This is going to be a wonderful show as we talk about what is blocking us when it comes to success. So let me introduce our savvy panelistas. We have Lisa Bing, Maria De Longoria, Phyllis Whitethorn, and Colette Ellis. Thank you, ladies, for joining. And I just want to jump right in here, Michelle. I want to first find out, what was your inspiration around creating this book? Talk to us a little bit about how you got to this place, because this here is fantastic.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored to be in this space with you. The journey to writing this book started a few years ago for me. I've been on the spiritual journey for a really, really long time, and I've done the work to understand how powerful forgiveness is. How life-changing gratitude is, the power of my thoughts. But my business consultant at the time, I had a magazine called The Sisterhood back in Miami. And my business consultant called me on my tendency to undercharge for products and services. And after I got off that call with her, I recognized that, you know what, sis just really gave me a gift, because this has been a pattern. And I really want to get to the bottom of it so that it doesn't continue. And so I did a few days of really deep introspection, meditating, journaling, to find out what's up with the low prices, what's up with me undercharging for these brilliant ideas that the universe would give me. And then I would have the audacity to slap these little paltry prices on them. And what was revealed to me as clear as the hand in my face is that, girl, you're dealing with unworthiness. Unworthiness is having this real subtle presence in your life, but it's informing how you're moving through your life. It's informing how you're manifesting. And I was like, God, what are you talking about? Because I've been on this spiritual journey for a really long time. I'm sharp, I'm creative. How can I be dealing with unworthiness? I feel good about myself. And the more I asked questions, the more the universe revealed to me, well, see, this is, the thing behind you people pleasing. This is the thing behind you shrinking in certain spaces so other people won't feel insecure. This is behind you, making decisions that do not allow you to fully occupy your space. And it's this real subtle thing of unworthiness. And as subtle as it is, it's so powerful because you don't really realize that it's having that impact on your life. And so as I started to, kind of peel back my layers and gain an even better understanding of how it was showing up for me, my process is to write. I'm a writer. And so I was writing, everything that was being revealed to me, and it showed up in a book. The very first book, this is the third book in the series. The very first book was simply called Worthy. And so that book really just kind of chronicled my journey from the sense of unworthiness. And I call it a sense of unworthiness because unworthiness is not, we're not unworthy. We're born worthy. We're innately worthy. But if we don't know that, then we're walking from this place of unworthiness. And so the first book chronicled my journey from this space of unworthiness to standing fully in my worth. And once I got started, the universe kept pouring it forth. And so this is the third book. This is my favorite because this is very practical. This gives sisters steps to take. It kind of helps them to really think about where they are, as it relates to manifesting your best life and the correlation that your sense of worthiness. So I'm smack dab in the middle of it. I've surrendered to God's desire for me to spread the word about worthiness. So I started the company, the Institute for Worthy Living, and some other aspects of the company. But the book is my baby. And
I want to hear more about why you felt, was it, sometimes unworthiness can mask itself, or this whole feeling of worthiness. Because sometimes sacrificing for others, we are taught that that's a good thing. That's good to be that. So how did you come to really understand what was blocking you in this?
Sitting in the silence and asking tough questions, really taking an honest look at where I was and in my totality, looking at my strengths, looking at my accomplishments, but also looking at some of the roadblocks that I continue to bump up against. I was attempting to manifest, success with this magazine, attempting to manifest success in other areas, but I kept bumping into these roadblocks, and the undercharging was one of them that continuously showed up. And as I started to peel back the layers, what I recognized was the way that I was seeing myself, the way that I was expecting myself to show up in different spaces. It was coming from a sense of unworthiness. There were some things from childhood that I really felt like I had healed. And what this introspection process showed me was that, I did some healing and the forgiveness work and things of that nature, but actually spending time affirming who I was as a spiritual being, having this human experience, actually spending time affirming who I was, owning my brilliance, owning my creativity. I was lacking in that part. I had not done enough work in that area. Had not done enough work, and so the unworthiness was there, and difficult for me to really put a finger on it because it's so subtle. You don't have to be down and out.
Very subtle.
Yeah, you don't have to be in any major distress for unworthiness to be a factor in your life. It's just right there. And it's just, blocking you. It has you settling for mediocrity when you are fully capable of executing from excellence. It has you settling.
Yes. And then I'm going to open it up. There, in your book, there was a line in it that I thought was very compelling. And you talk about living from your own authenticity. And it says, you live the life you're meant to live, not supposed to live, not expected to live, not told to live, but meant to live, because it's your divine obligation. Could you speak about that? Because that resonated with me so much.
Absolutely. And it's a process. It's a process because depending on how bought in we are to other people's opinions about how we live our lives, our parents, our spouses, our teachers, other authority figures, other people who have influence in our lives, their influence may smother our own awareness of why we are here. If we are believing that we have to, follow in the footsteps of a parent, or we have to, have a certain kind of job or a certain kind of profession, if that's not in alignment with who we are, we're living this falsehood. And we know it deep at the core of our being, but if we're not in a space where we have the courage to embrace that, where we have the courage to disappoint some other folk who may not really understand, what it looks like for us to take this path instead of the path they think we should take, then it's a real challenge, because one of the hardest things I think in the world for especially somebody like me who used to be the president of the People Pleasers Club, it's difficult. It's difficult to disappoint people when in your mind, what comes with that disappointment might be rejection. It might be, that these people not showing up in your life the way that you think you need them to. But once you continue to peel back the layers, once you really, start to get clear about why you are here, and it's not going to come from any external source. An external source might point you to where you need to go inside of yourself, but the reason that we are each here is inside of us. And once we get a taste of it, once we get real clear about what that is, we have an obligation to continue peeling back the layers, to continue getting the full story from the universe, because that first glimpse might not be the complete thing. So we need to keep tapping back in through meditation, through spending time in the silence, through just really getting clear about the thoughts in our mind that belong to us. Because some of the thoughts that are running through our minds are not our mind. They don't belong to us. They belong to other folk, who we've allowed to take up space in our consciousness.
And I'm going to open it up. Lisa, I think you had a question.
I do, and as I was listening to you, Michelle, two things occurred. I want to check with you, because you talk about your process of discovery, and what occurred to me was in your therapeutic work early on, there's a letting go, but there's also part of the process that I think I'm hearing from you in terms of honoring and taking on. So letting go and then taking on our own gifts and talents and so forth. Do I have that right?
You have that spot on. Absolutely.
And so the other thing that I was curious about, because I think it might be helpful to people, when you talk about roadblocks, how can we recognize the roadblocks that may be existing in our lives? Can you give some examples of the types of things that create roadblocks?
Well, you know what? The roadblocks will definitely be subjective and show up in a person's life, in different ways. I think that when we are attempting to move towards something and there's a constant struggle, the reason that we're struggling is because that's not for us to do. That's not in alignment with what's inside of us to do. If we're trying to walk somebody else's path, we're going to meet with obstacles because it's not ours to do. And so, as it relates to, the different obstacles that show up in our path, it's important for us to take a step back and to look at what we're bringing to the table, what's resonating with us. Our intuition, our instinct, it speaks so clearly to us all the time.
But if I can ask you, I just want to stop right there. This idea of intuition speaking clearly. When there are many voices inside the head. Since COVID started, I meditate 2-3 times a day. I've really dug into this. But how do you know how do you discern your voices? Whether it's deep inside or coming from someplace else. Meaning, how did you find that? Because I think that's the gem right there. Being able to trust that what you're hearing is what you're hearing and not something you're making up, or, there are all kinds of voices in the head.